So in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, we are conducting this meeting in a hybrid model, both virtually and in person. The Cemetery Committee is conducting this meeting March 6th, 2024 at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Zoom platform and in person, and in accordance with the town's policy directive and guidelines issued on April 1st, 2020, and amended on May 7th, 2022. If you are recognized, please state your name and address. This meeting is being recorded. I, Rod Rydell, hereby call this meeting to order. All committee votes will be taken via roll call. We'll start with an attendance roll call of committee members. When I announce your name, please reply. Brian Davidson.
Here.
Jerry Susi.
Here.
Jeff Walton.
Here.
Priscilla Sturgis.
Here.
Rod Rydell. Here. The next item on our agenda is the deed signing. The deeds have been signed. Tish, would you just summarize the numbers and things that we need to mention for the deed signing?
3 deeds were signed this afternoon.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is our next proposed cemetery committee meeting is Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. I just want to make sure that that is feasible and acceptable for all the committee members. Okay, it sounds like that's fine. And the last item on the administrative section is the approval of the minutes of our January 3rd, 2024 meeting. I hope you've all had an opportunity to review the minutes. Are there any questions, comments, or suggestions for revisions? Okay, hearing no suggested revisions or comments, I will entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes. Someone move to approve the meeting
I'll
minutes?
make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Jerry. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call to find out who is in favor of approving the meeting minutes. Brian Davidson?
Aye.
Jerry Susi?
Aye.
Jeff Walton?
Aye.
Priscilla Sturgis?
Aye.
Rod Rydell, aye. Okay, we accepted the meeting minutes unanimously. That moves us into the items that are discussion and possible action items on the agenda. We'll start with D1, the CPW staff report. Tish, is it you or is it Aaron who's going to give this today?
It is Aaron.
Hey, Jerry, off camera.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Moscow Highway Grounds, but that's no worries here. You get a bigger table and readjust the camera, I think. So a couple updates here. So we had in the month of February, we had 2 full interments and 2 cremation interments that took place, and 9 single grave lots were sold. We have started kind of spring cleanup a little early with the mild weather conditions that allowed us to get a jump start on that. But always kind of keeping an eye on the weather. The Patriots Day parade and events in town are only a month and a half away, so beginning some of the preparations for that downtown includes some of the cemetery preparations as well. We had an RSP, so it's request for proposals go out for cemetery landscaping bid. And it's going to be available Friday at 10 o'clock. For the plans, they're available electronically to qualified contractor that wishes to bid on those. Bids are going to be due March 26th at 10 a.m. Online as well. So that's for the landscape maintenance. That's an annual contract that the town has had in Sleepy Hollow Cemetery primarily, and everything from mowing, weed whipping, fall cleanups, spring cleanups, various other kind of grounds maintenance that we need that to be completed in that property.
Would Einstein typically bid for that?
Einstein
Again?
has been the contractor for
Right,
years
but
past.
would they typically try to get it again?
I can't answer that. I would assume that they would probably pull the bid. since they've been the contractor now for at least 6 years that I know of. They've had the last 2 contracts, so they typically are 3-year contract. What we do, it's a 1-year contract with 2 optional 1-year renewals. So that, performance or other factors, financing, funding, things like that. We're not obligated for a 3-year contract. The town can either choose to elect the renew or not. Yeah, I'm not sure which. I would assume they would. We reach out, kind of notify different vendors. That's available. It's also published online. You following all kind of mass general laws related to procurement. And that is all the updates today. Actually, we've been working with the contractor that was selected by the folks that have purchased the mausoleum lot. Had some discussions with them. They're looking to try to get started here later this spring. So we have to work out some construction schedules and some plans with them. So we've had some back and forth communication for the last couple of weeks with them, but looking to probably see some construction starting there. We're going to push for after Memorial Day holiday, so probably early June, just to kind of minimize any impact to the cemetery during that busy month. So we'll look forward to working on that. And then, as I mentioned previously, we're working with the GPI as an engineering designer to do the lot layout and expansion of Sleepy Hollow. So that's progressing as we proposal back from. Those are all the updates that I have.
No, all good.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments for Aaron and Tish and Doug? Then let's move to the next item, D2, a transfer of, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, the Conley lot.
Yes.
Please give us the background on this.
Background is Mr. Conley purchased a lot back in 1970. The 2 people that are, it's a 4-grade cremation lot. The 2 people that are interred there are his ex-mother and father-in-law. What he wants to do is transfer ownership of this lot to his son, who would inherit it anyway. But there may be a need to use it before he inherits it. And he just, because it's his in-laws, would just rather not have it in his name anymore and put it in the name of the people who should have it.
Hey, are there any questions or any observations or comments from any of the committee members? In that case, I will entertain a motion to approve the transfer of the Conley lot. May I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
May I have a second?
Second.
All right, we'll have a roll call to approve. And of course, I've been going around here and I've lost my list of names. Brian Davidson.
Aye.
Jerry Susie.
Aye.
Jeff Walton.
Aye.
Priscilla Sturgis.
Hi.
Rod Rydell. Aye. And then that passes unanimously. Okay, item D3, a discussion of the columbarium. And just so everybody is aware, this is part of our consensus agenda. We agreed that at our March meetings annually, we would at least talk about the columbarium once a year, and this is the time. So I turn this over to Brian and Jerry, who have taken the lead in the past on the columbarium.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. I mean, I guess there's not a lot of change, from what we've been discussing as a group these last couple months, because really we're at a point now where we've kind of identified at least one area that we'd like to explore for the design, but that is wrapped up in the greater kind of design elements for the cemetery for that section that we plan on opening, which Aaron just discussed with GPI is kind of looking at the layouts, and it will come back to us with a plan, and that's still outstanding. So from the subcommittee's point of view, we're kind of at a standstill till that report comes back. And then once we have that, we'll start working with the cemetery staff to continue with our design ideas, but, you know, we've worked hard to at least kind of get some preliminary locations and some preliminary thoughts of what we would like it to look like. And we'll start making those formal once the grand plan for that area is established.
So is it safe to summarize, Brian, that the preliminary work is completed? Well, what we need is the detailed lot plan, and then subsequent to the detailed lot plan, a more detailed and more concrete plan for the columbarium can be developed. Is that correct?
I think that's fair, yeah.
Okay. Jerry?
Yeah, it's really at a point where it would be useful to pick up when we know exactly what we're dealing with in terms of spacing and all that stuff, and where we're working with someone or where we can put out a bid to get the kind of design services that incorporate landscaping as well as, you know, kind of big mass structures that we're talking about, or at least, you know, stone. So, yeah.
So let me ask a comment now to Aaron and Tish. If we're anticipating that we're going to need a consultant of some kind to generate the design, or at least a preliminary design, is that something which we should consider including in the budget for next year?
Yes, so the budget request for next year has already been submitted. It was submitted August, September range, so going to town meeting in April, May. So the plan would be that some of the money out of the capital cemetery budget for next year would be used for some design.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Are there any other comments or questions regarding the columbarium? Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Jerry. Let's move then to item D4 in the agenda, a discussion again of the master plan. And today we are talking about, we're scheduled to talk about section number, I believe it's section number 4, monument restoration, with Jeff and Priscilla had been marked for suggesting revisions or amendments or additions or subtractions to this section. So who would like to start?
I will.
Terrific. Priscilla, please carry on.
For 4.1, my suggestion is to leave the first sentence, project underway, period, and delete the entire paragraph following, and add the sentence,
Good.
Old Hill and South Burial Grounds are completed, period. Work is currently ongoing in Sleepy Hollow, period, and leave the goal as is.
Okay. Tish, is that an accurate summary of the current status from your perspective as well?
Yes.
Okay, great. Great. Would you continue on, Priscilla?
Yes. I propose that for 4.2, the entire thing, current status and goal, be left as it is.
Any discussion, any questions, any suggestions to Priscilla's suggestion? Okay, let's continue, Priscilla.
For 4.3, this one's a little trickier. So right now it says for current status, an organized inventory of grave markers is currently underway. Old Hill and South are complete. So according to Tish, putting her on the hot seat here, it would be pretty much impossible to do a complete inventory of all of Sleepy Hollow, and seems unnecessary. So either delete the entire 4.3. Or delete the first sentence of current status, under current status. Just the first sentence. And delete the first two sentences of goal. If that makes sense to you guys. If you're following that.
So this includes all of the graves in the cemeteries, right? This addresses, so there are markers, like for some of our relatives, we can go online and we can find the exact location of the graves. But there are other graves that are not included in the current electronic inventory?
I think it's separate, two separate
different
things.
things.
Jerry, so we have an electronic inventory for the lots with name and interment date and that type of information, but there's not a grave marker inventory.
Ah,
Or grave that might have a, you know, what is the marker made out of? What is inscribed on the grave? Is there a photo
And a
of the
photo,
marker?
yeah.
But we haven't, that inventory is not complete. And Sleepy Hollow, that is done for, the Old Hill and the South Barian Road.
It's never been a goal to do Sleepy Hollow in the same way.
So,
Yeah.
so the state, the very first sentence that says Sleepy Hollow remains to be done. That's inaccurate because it was never planned to be done.
It's never been planned to be done.
okay. So you would propose just deleting that?
I actually proposed to delete all of 4.3. But it's obviously open to discussion.
Is it of value, and I put this to the whole committee, is it of value to state what is the current status of the inventory of grave markers? Is it a searchable inventory?
I don't
I've
think it
never-
exists,
It
does it?
exists on the library's website,
For the, like Author's Ridge?
just for Old Hill and, South, Main Street.
That's the,
Yeah,
yeah.
just for the two older burial grounds. It exists only on the library's website and there's no pictures included. No one's ever wanted to include pictures publicly. All the pictures and all of the assessment forms are in archives. I think they're in archives in the library.
And I think that, so when this was written, just for information, when this was written, this is prior to us doing the electronic inventory online of the entire cemetery.
That's a great.
So since then, we have that. The inventory has names and dates. It just doesn't have photos. It has locations, and it's searchable. So if you were to go on the website and type in a name, it would show you where it has a map, electronic map. And it will show you where in the cemetery that name is located, and then you can go and find the marker. I mean, so if we're grave marker inventories. Graves are all marked. In theory, it's an inventory, right? It just doesn't have a photo and doesn't have details of any special inscriptions that are on.
I have a follow-up question. I know that we've received photographs of the markers that have been restored and repaired over the last few years. Could that information be provided to the library so that they could at least link those photographs to the existing grave marker inventory?
They don't link any photographs. The photographs exist in a binder. There's nothing online for photographs.
Tish, I understand that, but we received a sort of a repair report or an update, and it had photographs in it. Whoever did the restoration and repair work must have the electronic files. I just wondered if we could connect that contractor with the library and see if they could keep all these photographs, so that if somebody was looking for historical purposes and there was a photograph of the marker, it could be linked to the inventory that the library maintains. I'm not suggesting that we do it, but I'm just wondering if it's a resource that we could be to the library.
The database that they have only includes stones from Main Street and Old Hill. So what we're doing is working in Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, we didn't do any repairs in the last few years in the other two cemeteries?
7 or 8 years now.
Okay,
No, the
Okay.
library, the work that was done in those 2 burial grounds are also in binders that I think are in the archives. I think, unless they're in your office. 'Cause they're in the archives, I think.
and those archives are maintained at the library, Tish? I'm sorry, I didn't hear your,
Yeah, we don't have them. They were never electronic. They were never.
okay, but presumably if someone could apply for a CPC grant at the library and scan them and do whatever they wanted, to electrify or may digitize the paper and photographic copies that are in the archives right now. That we can leave that up to the library.
To a point, depending on what they're using the photographs for, only because any commercial or public use of the photographs has to be approved by this committee.
Right. So Priscilla, your suggestion is just to delete it.
That's
And-
my suggestion. I don't know what, I mean, Jeff, you could
Yeah,
chime in. I
well,
don't
I
know.
was waiting.
Yeah.
I agree with almost everything he said. I do think we need to do, something about the overview. If we're done with, South Barringtown and Old Hill, we should state that it was completed, we're done it by this point. And then the plan for going forward for Sleepy Hollow, because while we're not gonna do the inventory, there's still lots in there historically significant that we're gonna wanna maintain and I'm sure renovate over the years, right? I'm asking you all, is there a list of projects? I know we've gone through a list of projects in Sleepy Hollow. Is there a projection out for which gravestones are important that we need to look at continuing to maintain? And so how do we tie that into here?
That's why I was proposing adding the sentence, work is currently ongoing in Sleepy Hollow. It's pretty general, but it states that it's just always ongoing.
I think that's something that's pretty constant.
Yeah, well, then and I think that's fine. We should probably just here summarize how we do that, how we decide what we're gonna do, and, it's ongoing. Maybe, we do 10 a year, 20 a year, and we have a prioritization going through here. Just something to give people an update on how we approach historic significance of these grave markers and manage them.
Well, it would be, Jeff, just to follow up on your comment, and I direct this question to Tish, how did we identify the list of grave markers for which we contracted repair and restoration? How was that decision made? Because that was made a number of years ago. Was it based on they were damaged, or what was the basis?
Yeah, the ones in the worst shape are the ones that are on the top of our list.
So staff go out, visit the
Yeah.
cemetery.
Yeah.
We do visual inspections, we document damage, ones that are either damage or decay or have, a buildup of, material on them that we need to be cleaned. And then
Yep.
staff prioritize the list based on available source, funding sources.
Yeah.
And it's not just a static list, a listed time, right? I mean, it's a continuing one because
It's
tree
continuing.
limbs fall
Right,
and
exactly.
knock down.
So it's like
Yeah.
change, and you can tell you there was ones that were damaged, this fall and winter from winter storms, and obviously they weren't on the plan, but now they're top of the list, where they're at and how the funding is allocated. I mentioned before, we received some insurance funding for the claim we put in for storm damage. So obviously those ones are going to get paid out of a different outside of cemetery funds. So the list is continuously changing. It's really, I think for this, it's, master plan is useful to staff because that's how we gauge, the direction the committee wants us to go, right? We're not asking the committee exactly. I mean, the committee's choosing which stones to say. In general, these are the projects we want to focus on. Staff, evaluate resources available, funding available, capacity, and we execute, right, based on the master plan. And the master plan provides the department direction on which way we're gonna go, how our operation. So if it says continue on, we'll continue on. You know, if we get $10,000 a year, we'll do 10,000. If we get 40,000, we'll do 40,000 euros with the snow restoration. It all really depends on a number of factors. So, and some restorations cost more than others, right? If it's a massive monument that gets destroyed or damaged, then it's gonna be very expensive, and we are gonna do less stone repair. So all the small ones, and we'll be able to do more, so it really varies year to year.
Okay, Jeff, other comments about the section, other edits that you wanted to suggest?
No, I think we covered with what Priscilla wants to do. I'm still, I think we have to redo the overview.
Okay, that, you,
The role.
write some text and email it to me and we'll put it in.
Well,
Yeah. So Priscilla and Jeff, if you wouldn't mind sending me, comments, you can do it in an email, you can do it on the document, and I'll incorporate it into the, the working draft, and we'll just keep building this.
Great.
We have a question from Jerry. Comment.
Yes, please, thanks. I just wanted to point out or maybe make a request. It was hard for me to read the marked up shared document. And it was a combination of like red typeface with another shade of highlighter over. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'll see what I can do to fix that up for you.
Okay, terrific, thank you.
Okay. And when merging these different versions always turns out to be a challenge. We'll do something. I want to easily attribute the edits to a particular person on the committee, rather than have people constantly have to click on bubbles on the comments on the side, which turns into a nightmare. But that's we'll take that up. Are there any other comments about section 4 for the master plan? Okay, well, that closes this section of the discussion of the master plan. And in our next meeting, we'll be discussing section 6 of the master plan. And the folks who will be doing that are Jerry and Priscilla. Okay. Great. And following that, we'll have our first amended version of the whole master plan, and following the April meeting, before the May meeting, I've committed to giving you all a synthesis of a compilation of all the edits, and then a first draft attempt to reconcile and to combine these edits in one version, and then people can have at it and change things as you see fit. But at least to give everybody, an integrated, edited version. Okay, that closes the topics on for today. The next item, D5, is the chair comments, and there was just one item that I did want to bring up for Tish and for Aaron, and that is that I see that we've received from the Community Preservation Committee 2 requests, one for photographs for this year's grant proposals, which they intend to use when they present the grant proposals for approval at town meeting. So just so everyone on the committee knows, happily, the Department of Public Works' proposal to obtain monies to do the engineering assessment of the metal structures is being advanced by the CPC for town meeting approval, and that's great. But they're also calling, so they wanted a photograph of that. And we have photographs that we used in the original proposal. So Aaron and Tish and Justine, just let me know if there's one photograph in particular you'd like to use, and I can send you the file. So you can have that, or you can supply your own. And then the other item is a request for reports, updates, project updates for every open project. And that there's a due date as well. So I just wanted to alert the committee that this is part of the CPC's ongoing supervision of the requests. So there's a request for our status report of our stone structure repair activities, and just alert Aaron and Tish and Justine about that. So that's just for information. So that closes my comments, and I open it up for any comments from committee members. Jerry.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I just wanted to share something that recently Wake Forest, there was a Wake Forest Law Review Symposium at Wake Forest down in North Carolina. And the symposium was called The Future of Death Care. And the reason it was at Wake Forest is because an attorney, Attorney Tanya Marsh, down there runs the only course in the United States at a law school on funeral and cemetery law. So there was some interesting stuff coming out of this conference. One is really a proposal to basically take what is currently structured for saving for your kids' college education. I think it's a 529 plan or something like that, and applying it to death care. A financial way to save tax deferred or tax free for burial costs and everything. So I thought that was interesting. Also, Attorney Marsh has a blog and a podcast. And in her recent one, she was talking about cremation specifically. And fun fact, Massachusetts is not currently in the top 10 list of cremations by percent. Maine is number 4 at 75%, and New Hampshire is number 7 at 72%. But that's the kind of stuff you can find out following these kind of people, and there's a lot to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. That's a very interesting stat, because that will certainly have an impact on us as we start making assessments for the needs for space.
Oh, absolutely. And the curve, the graphs and stuff show it's just an accelerating trend. It's an accelerating curve upward.
Thank you. Are there any other committee member comments? There are none. I open it up for public comments. I think we have one member of the public here with us today.
No comments. I would just highlight the fact that the Friends of Sleepy Hollow just had a breakfast this past Saturday, in which we learned more about the Concord Female Anti-Slavery Society, of which Ellen Garrison was a part of, and her mom, and some other important ladies that we don't hear much about. We hear about their husbands, but not so much them. So that was very interesting, and we had a good crowd.
That's great. I'm going to demonstrate my ignorance. Is Ellen Garrison buried in any of our cemeteries?
No.
She's not. She's buried in California, I think, Pasadena. But she spent a lot of her life here, and they were thinking of naming the middle school after her, which is what prompted the Friends to have this breakfast to learn more about her. And she was an extraordinary lady and a teacher, a very dedicated teacher who really believed in the power of education for all kids.
And the speakers, the 2 women that spoke at this breakfast, are doing a film that we got a teeny weeny little clip preview, and it looks amazing. So I think it's being premiered in June at the Umbrella. So that I think will be a very interesting event.
Yeah.
It looked like a really great film. One of the 2 speakers is actually a filmmaker. I didn't realize that. They both are professors at Tufts. And one of them, is a filmmaker, and so hence this film that's coming up.
Right. Are there any other comments? If there are no other public comments or issues to be raised, I will entertain a motion to close the meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? May I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, then. Brian,
Aye.
Jerry,
Aye.
Priscilla,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Rod, aye. We are once again unanimous in all of our votes. Thank you all very much.